South Africa faces major setbacks in medical research, as you've heard, as the US cuts billions in HIV as well as TB grants, threatening jobs as well as research programs. Meanwhile, expelled SA ambassador to the United States, Ebrahim Rasool, has returned home to a warm ANC welcome despite calls for diplomatic caution. And helping us to further unpack this is political analyst John Matisonn. John, it's great to have you with us on the show today. Welcome. So let's start with Ambassador Rasool saying that, firstly, he has no regrets, right? Yet emphasizes the need to repair or mend our relationship with the United States, but also states categorically, John, that this must not be done to please or appease a white United States president. So how do you interpret all these sentiments in one?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's really been an unfortunate situation. I was on the webinar where Ambassador Rasool made the comments that got him expelled. And, his analysis was first rate. I really liked the way he was analyzing it because I know Washington well. I lived there for 6 years. And, he really understood how dangerous the situation is and how to tackle it, and was a difficult job. But when he said what he said, what got him into trouble, I was concerned at the time because, an ambassador in the country in such a sensitive time, saying things that are going to anger the host country. So I thought it was unfortunate. But I think we have to recognize is that South Africa is facing a real difficult time with Trump and the American administration are really dangerous for us. There's no doubt that Trump behaves like a bully. He's bullying his friends more than his enemies. And he's chosen to see us as an enemy, which I think is unfortunate. But he's in a very powerful position. He can do us a lot of harm. So I'm with President Ramaphosa in saying, I would like to see us lower the tone. It's good that we're in the right on these issues, but we're at real risk, and we're not in a very strong position ourselves. If you think that our economy has not done well for a long time, that affects our diplomatic standing. Our army has not done well. The army acted very bravely in DRC, but they were put in an impossible position. That shouldn't have happened. So I think South Africa is vulnerable, and we need to lower the temperature and be quite careful because Trump doesn't care what he does. South Africa is not important to him. If it suits him to really hurt us, he can really hurt us.
Let's expand on that point of the economy, right, John? To the issue of aid, right? I'm sure you've heard in my intro as well, the possible adverse ramifications of this cancellation of critical funding. I'm sure you have also heard the echoed remarks that it is actually about time that South Africa actually started being self-sufficient and stopped pleading poverty, as this is the reason why we can easily be manipulated or undermined or dictated to on our choices of relationships, as well as governance, as well as policy. So I'm also sure you have seen the reaction from all sides, John. Some saying that these cuts should also be treated like the humanitarian disaster that it is, while others have suggested ways that South African companies should actually respond to these cuts. So how should they respond, do you think?
Look, he's given us no choice. To save lives, we have to, South Africa, the government particularly, has to step in. Again, it's such a tragedy because, this PEPFAR program, when it was started, 20 or so years ago, the Americans were paying 100%. But by the time Trump cut it off this year, the Americans were only paying 17%. So South Africa had been a model citizen. We'd steadily taken over more and more of the responsibility, and there wasn't that much left. But obviously cutting it off overnight is very dangerous, and it's pretty certain that lives will be lost. And that is a result of the Americans' recklessness. But we have no choice. And the key, when you talk about standing on our own 2 feet, the key to South Africa's recovery is building the economy more effectively than we have. And including taking on responsibilities like this, which, of course, ideally we'd like to handle entirely ourselves.
All right. And very quickly, John, let's also note that, the US is not the only country that is currently withdrawing aid. We know that the United Kingdom had announced a 40% reduction in its international development budget, with Netherlands, France, Belgium, and also Switzerland also going this route. So let's talk about the direct implications, that the impact also that this will have, both short as well as long term.
Look, we've moved, the whole world is changing in many ways for the worse. It's becoming far more transactional, much less humanitarian, and this will affect us overall. Even other countries that give us aid that haven't announced it, they're under pressure. Europe and Canada and Australia are going to be rebuilding their militaries. They're going to be spending more and more money on arms and ammunition and planes and ships for military purposes. So aid is going to be tighter and tighter throughout the world. We're going to just have to get used to that and be more and more self-sufficient.
Absolutely. John, thank you so much for your input this afternoon. That is political analyst as well as author, Mr. John Matisonn on the halting of US aid to South Africa.